All right. We are live. Let's see who's
Live.
first. Greg
It's like
is
with a
first.
box around my head.
Greg with 2 G's was in here first. He gets the first award.
Hey guys.
Excuse
Excuse my box around my head. I'm experimenting with this new cam link. So it lets you hook up your camera, like your regular DSR or mirrorless camera to your webcam. It's pretty good, except it's like taking all the functionality from the camera and applying it to the webinar.
I don't always test out new things, but I test them out when there's hundreds of people watching me.
Well, of course. I'm fully framed. It's so annoying. It was working perfectly, and then I unplugged it for a second, and it stopped working. That's okay.
So how's everybody doing today? Say hello in the chat. If you got questions, put them in the Q&A. We already got one in the Q&A. Dawn, one of our EcomCrew premium members.
Yeah, just for the premium members here, today's a public webinar. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through some of our more common questions that we get just for the blog and the podcast. We're going to run down through these. We'll take a few open Q&As. We're not going to get to them all. This is different than our private premium Q&A, which we're also actually doing tomorrow as well. And the private Q&A, that's where we tackle all the questions. And for the premium members here, just stay tuned. Tomorrow there's also a Q&A webinar. So if we don't get to your questions today, tomorrow is kind of the official members only Q&A where we'll tackle everything.
Dawn said, I'm asking questions early. First, I did not see an EcomCrew Black Friday deal. Were you planning a special offer for this year? So you might not have gotten the email, Dawn, because you're already a premium member. And so typically we process renewals like after a year for people. I think you were on a yearly plan. So whenever your subscription expires, we'll contact you. But we did have a Black Friday deal. In fact, I think are we going to talk about that today, Dave, or not?
Yeah, I think we're going to extend it one more day. Now, to your note, Dawn, normally people who are renewing, you get a bit of a special deal on top of the Black Friday deal as well. So we do actually have here, seeing that you talked about it. Thank you for planting that question too, Dawn. It was so nice of you.
She's trying to get a sales job at EcomCrew. She's doing a good job with that.
So before we get into the actual Q&A webinar, you can see my screen, right, Mike?
Yep.
Oh, this is the wrong webinar. This webinar. So EcomCrew Premium is 50% off EC50. Now, if you are renewing though, and a lot of people are coming up for the renewal from last year, keep your eyes open for a special renewal link. So Abby should have sent them out. I'm not sure when you purchased on, might have been into December. So if you purchased last year during December, then you wouldn't have gotten your renewal notice just yet. So keep an eye out for it, and just give us an email too if you haven't seen it. We'll figure out what's going on there.
Igor says, can I get the invitation for the private one? I signed up for premium yesterday. Are you talking about the mastermind, Igor?
No, he's talking about the members only Q&A tomorrow. So you'll get you'll get an email link for it to tomorrow, Igor. So it goes out normally a week before and then the day of. So it'll come out tomorrow. The webinar is at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so you get it automatically. But Elena, maybe you can send Igor a link to it as well, to the members only Q&A tomorrow.
Derek from Calgary has a question. If you could put that in the Q&A, because we're going to do some slides first here, and that way it won't get lost. Just there's a Q&A section. Just add that to the Q&A, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, so what we're going to do today, guys, so we're going to tackle a couple of the most popular questions we get, and then we're going to answer a few Q&As, and then we're going to go back to a couple of the other most popular questions, and we'll do a few more Q&As. So it's going to be kind of a mixture of the top questions that we get combined with live Q&A. So To get things going, like Mike said, just post any questions in the Q&A. But to get things started, definitely one of the top questions we get, both through the podcast and the blog and also through our premium members, is how to get sales off of Amazon. So Mike, do you want to talk for a few minutes about some of our most popular ways to get sales off of Amazon? Specifically, I think what people are most interested in is the authority websites that we run. So Mike's going to riff on that for a few minutes about how to get content or traffic off of Amazon using authority websites. And he can use tactical.com as an example, offroading.com as an example, and he'll kind of talk a little bit about how to use authority websites to get traffic off of Amazon and either direct it to Amazon or direct it to your Shopify website.
Yep, sure. Just real quick, Derek says he doesn't see the Q&A section. It's down on the bottom bar of Zoom. It should say Q&A with two like little chat bubbles. He found it. Good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so this is a strategy that we started working on last year in 2019. We own tactical.com for those of you who aren't familiar with this. Basically the strategy is to rank for all kinds of things in the tactical space. And what we narrowed it down to specifically within the tactical space is prepping and survivalism. And we picked this before the pandemic. It was just good luck, I guess. But in addition to just ranking about really top level search terms that are kind of trafficy things that get people to our site, which hopefully a certain percentage of them convert to our lead magnets and give us their email address and allow us to pixel them and allow us to put ads on there to just to get revenue. The real secret is to do product review type content. And so what are the best tactical flashlights? What are the best tactical gloves? What are the best survival food products out there? And over time, after doing this for a year and a half, we're now ranking for this stuff. In fact, our traffic has grown 10x this year. And the whole idea here is not to only do review type products or review type articles, because Google will kind of classify you as an affiliate type site and kind of give you a reputation of being a site like this, which is not what we want. We want to be just kind of known as an authority within the tactical space that also has some reviews content. I think it gives you a much better chance of ranking for review content long term. And at this point, we're ranking for things like survival food or tactical gloves or entrenching tool. These are all products that we currently sell. And we're doing quite well with them. In fact, we're having a hard time keeping some of these products in stock now, which has been kind of the other side of the coin of having this work out well. The other strategy is to start writing product reviews for things that we plan on selling eventually. So instead of launching a product and kind of doing it the old-fashioned way of we scan Jungle Scout, go find something in China, try to differentiate it, and then launch it with a prayer, we're going to launch it with almost a guarantee. And so a good example of this is one of the next products we're going to be launching next year is a fire starter. Well, the reason we're going to launch a fire starter is because we already rank for like best ferro rod. I think we're like number 3. We're getting a decent amount of traffic from that now. We have Amazon affiliate links on this page. We know that we're selling ferro rods. And so we'll just put ours on there as number 1, the number 1 recommended ferro rod. And, it's as good of a guarantee as you can get that those will sell. And again, by doing this, it's completely white hat. You have outside traffic. You're not doing, coupons or super URLs or, rebate sites or many chat flows, all these things that do work quite well. A lot of people teach this stuff. We're aware of it and talk about it when people ask, but I worry that it's the way to rank right now, not the way to rank long-term necessarily, because these types of things are the type of thing that will get you banned. It's very binary. It feels great while it's happening. But the day that you get in trouble, it goes to zero. And that's what we're trying to prevent. So that's kind of the philosophy that we've been using for tactical.com. We're sending thousands of unique clicks off to Amazon every day, or actually I should say hundreds. We're getting thousands of visitors to our site every day. We're sending hundreds of clicks off to Amazon every day, getting dozens of sales, and even a small amount moves the needle a lot on Amazon. If you're getting even just 5 sales a day through affiliate links, it can make a huge difference. In fact, with our tactical gloves, we were the number 2 glove on all of Amazon just about 6 weeks ago. And the only reason it hasn't continued on that progression is just simply we've run out and we're panicking to try to get more in. And that's been another whole story. But it's pretty exciting what's been going on there.
Yeah, and one of the biggest questions that people ask about running an authority website is why host it on its own unique domain? So that's one of the most common questions. Can I just create basically an authority content website with a bunch of blog articles and authority articles for a particular topic and host it on my Shopify site? And the approach that Mike and I both take is we host these on standalone websites. And there's a couple of reasons why we host them on standalone websites like tactical.com and offroading.com. And it's because basically Google's going to put you in one of 2 buckets. They're going to put you in a e-commerce bucket, or they're going to put you in a content and informational bucket. So if you're in that e-commerce bucket, which your Shopify site is going to be, what's going to happen is Google's going to take shopping-based searches, so buy tactical gloves, buy off-roading rope. They're going to rank your e-commerce websites really well for those types of searches. Now, if they're more of an informational and top of funnel search, things like how do I use a kinetic recovery rope, or what type of off-road vehicle should I buy? You're never going to rank your Shopify site for this because you're already in that e-commerce bucket. So that's why we host our authority websites on standalone domains, because it's a lot easier to rank for these informational type searches, these top of funnel searches. These are searches that you're just never going to grab, especially if you're on Amazon only, or if you're hosting your blog on your Shopify website. Now, with all that being said, if you're just getting started, you already have a Shopify website, and the choice is basically between not doing anything or starting to write articles and creating content and hosting on your Shopify site. By all means, start doing that on your Shopify website. But at some point, you should start pivoting to a standalone website. It's great for SEO, and it also helps kind of diversify yourself away from any potential downside that may happen. Maybe you get a Google penalty for your e-commerce website. Maybe all of a sudden you decide to shift into being a content-only business instead of e-commerce business. It just diversifies you a little bit more by having 2 separate domains for your content website and your e-commerce website. Let's tackle a few of the questions that have come in here. We got a whole bunch here. Looks like 14 questions that rolled in while we were talking there. Let's see if I can find something here. It kind of relates anything to what we were talking about here. Okay, Kelly says, I have a tactical site too. There we go. I'm 99% Amazon. I'm building my own site now to diversify. Does Premium give step-by-step for setting up Facebook ads? So we talked about Facebook for sure. This is actually a good question, rather than just pump Premium here. Yes, we have a course that does go into using Facebook ads to promote your content and your Amazon listings. But with that being said, when it comes to Facebook, this is a monster of a topic. So Facebook is really dependent on, more than anything else, on the creative that you have. So setting up Facebook ads and picking lookalike audiences and targeting, yes, that's important, but your creative is absolutely the most important thing. So if you have shitty videos or you have a shitty graphical ad, you're just not going to get the performance out of those Facebook ads that you want. So creating amazing videos and other creative, no, it's not something we go into with Premium. But the actual nuts and bolts about setting up your Facebook ads, absolutely, yes. That's something we go into both in our external traffic to Amazon course, as well as something we talk about all the time through our private webinars.
We also talk about like all the things we do with tactical. So if you have a tactical site, you can kind of just piggyback on the things that we're doing. We talk about it in every monthly webinar.
So here's a question related to the content websites. If you're just starting a new brand, would you say the extra work required of the second content website in addition to the Shopify ecom website is worth it? And would you focus 80% of your content writing efforts on the content site and do limited content on the ecom website?
Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta, if you're kind of a small shop, you gotta pick one or the other. And so with every site that we have, even with us, with the team that we have, we're closing in on 20 employees now. We still pick one for each brand, so for Color It, we did all the content on color.com on our Shopify site. On Ice Wraps, we do the same. For Tactical, we've put it on a separate website. And so we're not going to be blogging on our e-commerce brand the same way that we have on tactical.com. And so pick one or the other, stick with it. And you have to continuously post content. Most people, the vast majority, something like 90-something% of new blogs and new websites that put out, never make it past the first year because they start posting content, they get no traffic, and they just give up. And so you have to, it's a long-term game. And then eventually you start kind of going parabolic, which is we're in that phase right now.
Yeah. The other thing too, to critique is for your e-commerce business, and that's going to be the heart of your business. That's the cash flow giant for your business is the e-commerce. If you don't have products, well, you're not going to have much of an e-commerce business if you don't have products. So yes, most of your time and effort should be spent in developing products. With that being said, normally most people, when they're developing products and developing a brand, it kind of happens like this. You all of a sudden go gung-ho for 2 to 3 months developing a product, and then you're waiting 2 or 3 months for that product to come in. And yes, obviously you need to be focusing some time and attention during that waiting period on developing your Amazon listings and getting your videos and your photos made up. But there's a pretty big gap in between the product development time and actual launch. And during that time, this is time that you can use to be focusing on developing that written content. And long-term, what you should be doing is having this content outsourced, either to freelance writers. And we pretty heavily discourage using freelance writers. And our favorite way is definitely to do it in-house through VAs. Developing a team in the Philippines at $500-600 a month, it's one of the best things that you're going to do to scale your business. Now, out of the gate, you don't necessarily have to hire a VA, but as you're growing and as you're scaling, you need to be building that team. And yeah, you can do it locally, but $500 or $600 for Filipino VAs, where the gap in quality between the Philippines and local is not that big, there's no better bang for your buck than building that team in the Philippines. Someone here posted, can you be successful in a highly competitive market at a higher price by selling a strong bundle and targeting specific keywords?
I mean, it depends on how strong of a niche you're talking about. I mean, if it's, one of the top 1,000 products or something on Amazon, probably not. It's interesting because Dave and I have approached things differently. He's selling less competitive stuff and I'm selling more competitive stuff. And I think that, if you're just getting started and launching your products, Dave's way of doing it is way easier. If you're going after a very competitive market these days, it's very difficult to do it without doing black hat techniques, which could eventually get your account banned. Unless you have what we were just talking about in terms of strategy of outside traffic, it's very difficult. So if you can lay the groundwork and get that outside traffic going to Amazon listings, you can sell a competitor's product that doesn't have this bundle and stuff that you're talking about. And then eventually, once you are getting traffic and selling, and you'll see it on your affiliate links, then launch that competitive product. I think you have a strong chance. And so just, and in terms of selling it for a higher price, I definitely think you can. I mean, like with Color It, with our gel pen set, it's a great example. I mean, the average gel pen set for comparable pens that we were selling was for $8 to $10, and we were selling them for $30. And we ended up, with a top 10 gel pen listing on all of Amazon. This is one of the most competitive niches on all of Amazon. I mean, gel pens sell just, astronomical numbers. It's hard to even get your head around it. But we were selling for $30 and we made a name for ourselves and had a top 10 product, but it only really lasted for about a year and a half until like everyone copied what we were doing. And then, it was a race to the bottom. And the people who bought it from us are now selling it for $20. They were actually talking to me about this the other day, because it just got to a point where everyone else kind of flooded this market and, just kind of did a race to the bottom. There's still margin there and they can still make money selling them at $20, but it's not like it was in the past. So, you have to be cognizant of that as well. And it isn't necessarily going to last forever, because once you pop on the radar in a competitive niche, everyone else can be like, oh, that's interesting. And they're going to just copy the same thing. They have the same tools that you have.
Once you start talking about it on your blog and podcast, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
don't tell everybody what you're doing. They'll copy you.
I mean, in all honesty, though, why we are as transparent as we are through EcomCrew.com is a couple of reasons. Number one, eventually the competition is going to catch up to you. And talking about it publicly through EcomCrew, does it hasten up that time that competitors kind of flood the market? Maybe a little bit, but the truth of it is, there's our competition is roughly 40% Western and 60% Chinese, and as much as me and Mike like to think we're these massive celebrities, the truth of it is we haven't really penetrated the Chinese market yet. So we're working on that. So no matter whether we talk about it publicly or not, people are going to find you. Second off, if you create strong products with strong competitive advantages and differentiators, that's going to buy you the time. It's not talking about your ASINs in a WeChat group or in a forum. It's making strongly differentiated products. For example, we're coming out with an SUV tent in April. This is a pretty different, drastically different tent that you go camping with. Is it going to be ripped off? Yes, eventually, but I know it's going to take somebody 2-3 years to rip off and duplicate that design and get the reviews and sales traction on Amazon. And if we can get 3 years of a product, that's pretty good with Amazon. And I'm not foolish enough to think that we're ever going to get 10 solid years of no competition on Amazon or even on our website or even in a store if we ever go to a store. Nothing great lasts forever. But if you get 3 solid years out of a product and then still make a little bit of money after that 3 years, maybe not as good as the first year or two, that's a pretty good return. Now, talking about competitive products just for 1 second too, you talked about, can you bundle a product in an ultra competitive niche and still make good money? What somebody considers ultra competitive, if you ask 2 people, both people are probably going to give you different answers. I kind of categorize products on Amazon into a few buckets. There's the $1 million plus a month bucket. So you're selling $1 million plus of Instapots. There is the $100,000 plus a month category, which probably gel pens would be in that category, where if you have that number 1 product, you're going to get close to $100,000 a month. There is the $50,000 category, which is things like SUV tents. And then there's the $10,000 a month category, things like fishing rod holders. You don't need to be in that $1 million plus category. You probably don't even need to be in that $100,000 a month category. Being in the $50,000 or $10,000 a month categories is fine. If you're making 10 to 20% margin and you have quite a few products, it's pretty easy to clear 6 figures a month or a year in profit by doing these low competitive niches. We see this, unfortunately, with a lot of premium members getting into these ultra competitive categories like supplements and vitamins. And it's a really tough market to penetrate. A lot of times we get these members are asking for feedback on their listings, and their listings are perfect.
Yeah.
Their marketing is amazing, their product's amazing. They just kind of picked the wrong niche. So it all starts from that starting point, is picking the right niche and the right
They're
product.
trying to sell coffee or something. It's like very competitive. I mean, it's awesome if you can get it to rank and all that, but I mean, I'm definitely like in Dave's philosophy of even $10,000 a month products. If you can have, I'd rather have $110,000 a month products $110,000 a month products than $100,000 a month products. I mean, you just spread out your risk, normalize your supply chain easier. There aren't, crazy spikes and stuff to deal with, but also if one ASIN has a problem, it doesn't cost you 10% of your sales or in some cases, I mean, we have one of our hero ASINs is 40% of our sales. It's always on pins and needles, and it has been going down lately because Amazon came in and developed a product that copied the exact same thing and cut our price down about half of what we're selling, about half of what we sell it for. And it's kind of a commodity product, and it's hard to compete against. And so, it's just, I think that you're better off having several $10,000 a month type products, as you were saying. I mean, if you have 10, 20% net profit, which you should, I mean, each one of those is $1,000 or $2,000 a month in net profit. And if you can have 10 of those, it's enough to certainly leave your day job and be doing this full time.
Shifting back to the talk about the VAs, and we got a few questions here about VAs. Dan and Bevish, I'm going to kind of combine this into one. Can you explain some of the services a VA does for you, and then also what would you recommend as an hourly wage for VAs?
So I mean, let's just put it this way: we have myself, my wife, and our COO are in the United States, and our quote unquote VAs do everything else. And so I mean, they're you can get to a point where they can basically do everything. I mean, there's obviously certain things that don't make sense, but we either have 19 or 20 people full time now working in the Philippines, depending on when their newest employee starts. And to start with, I recommend kind of just doing the natural stuff, the things that make the most sense. So customer service is probably the number one thing, the easiest thing to go after. It isn't necessarily a great value add at a good use of your time in your own business. And they're the most ubiquitous type of person to be able to hire in the Philippines because the Philippines is kind of known for customer service. There's a lot of companies outsourced to the Philippines and have been for many years. And so I think that's like a great place to start. And, I always recommend hiring someone full-time. I think that hiring them part-time is a mistake. Having them be part-time, they're not just focused on you, they're focused on other things as well. We have a minimum wage in the Philippines that's $600 a month. That's what we have decided to set our minimum wages, but that's definitely above market rate. You can probably hire someone for $450 to $500 a month. And so, what are you trying to do? Like hire someone part-time so it's only $250 a month? I mean, for the rest of the money you're paying them, you can find other tasks for them to do. And again, I think customer service is a great thing to start with. And then you can also give them other administrative tasks. So you can have them do certain types of product research for you, or monitoring your listings, or my favorite thing that my team does is they call and deal with Amazon with all the crap and I tell them, I don't want to even hear about it. Like, do not tell me how frustrating it is. I already know how frustrating it is, because like every time you tell me, it just like makes my skin crawl. And I just don't want to even know about it, like how bad they are. And they just take care of it. They either call Amazon or open up all the support tickets. They handle return requests. They're contacting influencers. They're doing our PPC. These are all like administrative type tasks. They run reports and stuff. And so that's like one group of people. One thing that I see people make a mistake of is they think they can hire a VA and that they can do everything. You would never hire someone
from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, but even still, like, I mean, even in North America, you wouldn't hire someone to do everything in your business. I mean, like someone who is, a good admin type person is probably not a good graphic designer or a good videographer, for instance. I mean, these are just different skill sets, different disciplines. They are going to college specifically for these things. And so, we hire a specific graphic designer, full-time graphic designers, and they're doing all of our Amazon listings and all of our enhanced brand content and all of our website and Shopify stuff. And, just different, all of our Facebook ads, anything to do with graphics, they're handling all that. And then another discipline is content writing. Again, I mean, someone who is a good admin most likely is not going to be a great content writer. And if they are a great content writer, you should focus on them doing that full time, and find someone else to do admin stuff. And so those are like the three main buckets. And we do have article, Elena, if you could put that in the chat, that talks about our like whole process of hiring people and creating content in the Philippines. In fact, the article about creating content in the Philippines was written by one of our members of the Philippines team. You'll see how great of an article it is. It's one of the best pieces of content on EcomCrew, and it was written by a Filipino. So, I mean, they can do amazing work. They do amazing work, and I highly recommend fitting in these types of people into your business, because these are, we all run low margin businesses, and if it wasn't for our Filipino team, if I was trying to hire these people in the US or North America, we literally would go bankrupt. I mean, our business would just fall apart, or we'd have to do it with 3 people instead of 20. And we would get 8% of the work done that we get done now. And so we're able to get a lot more done because we have more manpower. Hopefully that answers your question. Dave's laughing at me for some reason.
No, I'm reading a message.
Oh.
Dave, you need to kill the setup with the focus frame camera info. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying.
Look at my background and my camera and my
I know.
Dave.
He also, the person also says, you sound like you're in a cave, Dave. Well, him and Neanderthal, so what do you expect?
One of these days, Dave will understand how to set up a, yeah. You got like something going. You did something in the background. You got like shelving and a light. So I mean, you're making progress.
No, I moved the room, trying to up my game here, but this whole cam link thing totally screwed everything up.
You need to.
I mean, perfect and beautiful today.
You need to get some of these things.
Yeah. Just in a pillow. So the secret to getting rid of the cave sound is normally, the cheap secret is you put up a few pillows around the walls, and that's like a poor man's way to fix it. But
these are like 50 cents a piece, man.
Yeah. Then you have foam on your wall though.
That is true. They aren't the best looking thing. But see how good I sound?
I know. Instead of talking about my cave sound here, we're going to talk about EcomCrew Premium here just for a minute. So like we mentioned in the beginning, is that EcomCrew Premium, we had a Black Friday special, which officially ended yesterday. We're extending it 1 day for the webinar attendees. So ecomcrew.com/premium, use the coupon code EC50 to get 50% off of EcomCrew Premium for your annual subscription. Now, let me show you what EcomCrew Premium is all about. So there's a few main facets to EcomCrew Premium. So number 1 is our premium courses. Number 2 is our webinars that we do twice a month. So we do 2 webinars a month. We do a secret sauce webinar, which is a deep dive into one particular topic in e-commerce. And then we do an open Q&A like we're doing here. The difference with our open Q&A for members only is that we answer every single question until the cows come home. For my members, members can hop on video, they can hop on their microphone and ask questions live. And of course, you get access to all our previous webinars. I think we're up to nearly 50 pre-recorded, previously recorded webinars, which you can access in our database of Q&A and secret sauce webinars. Along with that, you get our Facebook group. You get all the presentations that we've done. So you can see that here on the screen here. And most importantly, you get unlimited email access to Mike and myself. So you can ask any question you want through a private email address that Mike and myself both monitor. If you want to talk just to Mike, you can just say, hey, I have a question for Mike. If you want to talk just to me, you can say, hey, Dave, I have a question for you. And either one of us is going to get back to you directly. So this is one thing we don't delegate to our VAs. So that's the big selling feature of Premium, as well as, of course, is the unlimited email access to Mike and myself. Now, let me dive into the courses here just for a minute here, because we had a few questions about what do the courses have and what do the courses not have and don't have. So we have 6 full-length courses. Import from China like a Pro, which is a course on importing from China. We have Email Flows to Riches. This is a step-by-step email automation course. So this is everything to do with email automation for your e-commerce brand. Now, if you're Amazon only, of course, you're not getting any email addresses because Amazon doesn't share that with you. But if you are looking to pivot away from Amazon, start collecting email addresses because an email list is absolutely your most valuable asset that you can have. If and when you're ready to start doing that, email flows to riches is, of course, what you want. So we talk about everything about collecting email addresses to what you do when you collect those email addresses. So the key is you want to set up a high converting email automation flow. So depending on which email service provider you're with, whether it's Klaviyo or MailChimp, they have different nomenclature for automation, but no matter what you call it, we'll step you through step by step how to set up a killer email automation flow and actually develop one that's high converting. Because that's what you really want. You want an email list that is creating sales for you. It's one thing to have an email list of hundreds of thousands of people that doesn't produce a penny for you. It's another thing to have an email list that's producing real revenue for you. One of the things we've also talked about here through this webinar is how to get the external traffic and send it to Amazon. Because you don't want to just get all this traffic and keep it for yourself. You want to send some of that traffic and those sales to Amazon because that's where the flywheel starts spinning. So you get sales coming from your email list, you're sending them from your email list to Amazon where they're ultimately completing the purchase. And what happens, you get more sales in Amazon, and that increases your rankings on Amazon, which converts to more sales. So you want to get that flywheel spinning, and the best way to get that flywheel spinning is through external traffic. And email is one of the ways to get external traffic. Is it going to kick me out here? Hopefully not. The other way to get external traffic is through authority blogs like we talked about, and also through Google and Facebook. Really, there's only a few different avenues for getting traffic in the World Wide Web. This is why all these big tech companies are being investigated by Congress, because there is pretty much a monopoly on the internet by a few companies, Facebook, Google, and Amazon being the big three. So we talk about how to tackle those big three and use Google and Facebook to get you more sales on Amazon. So this is our external traffic to Amazon course. And this is where we talk about using all the things like Facebook ads, Google Shopping, and authority websites to get traffic to your website or to Amazon. So just really quickly here to walk you through this course. This is our newest course and probably the one that most people are most interested in. So first off, we talk about how to actually track this external traffic that you're going to send to Amazon. So you want to be able to see if that traffic is converting. So we'll talk about all the different ways to do it. We'll talk about Amazon attribution, using associate links, and using some of the more gimmicky things like two-step URLs and search, find, buy campaigns. We'll talk about whether you should be using those or not. Of course, we have a topic all about Amazon SEO and just kind of understanding how it's working nowadays and having those fundamentals of knowing how Amazon SEO works. You can decide how you're sending your traffic to Amazon and utilize those methods a lot better. The final module, we talk about getting that external traffic. So the 4 big ways how you can do it. I mentioned Facebook, Google, authority websites, and the other way that we talk about is using influencers. So influencers are critical for Mike and myself's brands. So depending on what niche you're in, if there is a passionate user base following that niche. So for example, off-roading, there's a very passionate audience for that. For tactical items, there's a very passionate niche of people following tactical items and the whole tactical space. Coloring, there's obviously a big niche for that. Boating, there's a big niche for it. Depending on what your niche is, and this again is why it's so important to have a great niche from the beginning, influencers can be an absolute critical part of your strategy. So we talk about how we use influencers, how we use influencers basically for free. So we get influencers to YouTube or blog about our products basically in exchange for free products, and we don't give monetary compensation to them. So we talk about how we're getting these influencers to give us this free content, these free reviews, and these free links to our website and Amazon, basically just in exchange for free products. So we talk about our whole strategy for using influencers. And then just because, again, we've had a couple questions about Facebook. So we talk about Facebook remarketing, and this should be the core of how you're using Facebook from the beginning. Facebook is an absolute monster of a platform for advertising. This is not a full course on Facebook. Facebook itself is its own website. FacebookPros.com or some other authority website devoted just to advertising on Facebook. It's its own monster. So this is not a full course from A to Z on Facebook, but it does talk about the most important things that you should be using with Facebook in terms of paid ads. So, and the most important thing is paid remarketing. So we talk to you again, step by step, how to set up your remarketing ads through Facebook, how to set up your Google Shopping feeds, going to either Amazon or your website. And this is kind of what you need from the beginning to get started with Google and Facebook. Getting into other things like lookalike audiences and marketing to a cold audience, yes, that becomes a certain part of your strategy at some point. For the beginning though, if you're first getting started with Facebook, you can burn a lot of cash really quickly if you're trying to target a cold audience. So we're not talking about targeting to a cold audience with Facebook. We talk about using remarketing. So that's the external traffic to Amazon course. The other thing we talk about is developing a brand, developing a product brand. So everything from finding products to actually developing the packaging and differentiating the products. And we actually get into some of the nitty gritty about actually developing a product in the Start a Seven-Figure product brand course. So this is a great course, whether you're just getting started or you already have a brand, you're just looking to improve it a little bit, whether it's through packaging or actually physically improving those products. I think that's all I want to talk about. There's a lot that goes into premium. Mike and myself both spend almost as much time with EcomCrew as our e-commerce businesses, and not necessarily because it's a bigger revenue generator for us, but simply because it is kind of Mike and myself's passion is participating with our audience, even our free members, like we're doing here, but giving a little bit more one-on-one support and touch to our paid premium members. So check it out, ecomcrew.com/premium. Again, use the coupon code EC50 and you'll get 50% off. I think that deal is only good until the end of today though. So if you are going to become a premium member, definitely use that coupon code, because after today, you're going to pay full price. And for people that did get into premium before November, our prices have actually gone up quite a bit for premium too. So take advantage of that 50% off coupon code. Prices are going up pretty drastically in the new year. Just as more and more people join premium, Mike and myself's time is at a premium, excuse the pun, and we have to kind of be selective on who we let in. So last chance to kind of get that 50% off coupon deal.
Also, we have a ton of questions. Let's get through all the Q&A.
So we're going to go for about 20 more minutes here, guys, maybe 25. So we're not going to be able to get through every question here. Premium members, tomorrow in our private members only Q&A, you can load us up with as many questions as you want, and Mike and myself will be there till the end. But today we'll go till about just after 11. So we'll try to tackle as many as we can here in the next 15 to 20 minutes.
So the first one up here is Rob's asking, have you manually set up a custom canonical URL for your Amazon listings? I am not aware of a way to do that. In order to do canonical URLs, it has to be your own website. So I'm not sure. Oh, Dave just fixed his camera. Look at that.
I did. I'll get rid of this square on my head. Go to this crappy default.
In order to do the canonical URLs, I believe it has to be your own website. So I'm not sure how you would do that for Amazon. Chris says, first time caller, a new listener. Thanks for joining us. Let us know how you found us. It's always interesting to know how people find us through the interwebs. Thanks for the invite. Very interested in getting this question answered. Where and how can I access data to mine for myself different opportunities on and off Amazon? So, I mean, there's Jungle Scout, there's Helium 10. Those are probably the most popular tools for looking at least on Amazon opportunities. If you're looking for off Amazon opportunities, we use a product called Ahrefs. It's ahrefs.com. There's also SEMrush. There's also Moz.com. They all basically do the same things, just that we've kind of gravitated towards Ahrefs years ago and continue to use it because we're used to it. And again, they're all about the same. And so these will tell you the different opportunities out there in terms of keywords that are being searched and how difficult they are. Same thing goes for Helium 10 and Jungle Scout. So I would check out those tools. and thanks for joining us. Oops, my mouse that was weird. Okay. We're thinking of, this is from Ross. We're thinking of getting a permanent or part-time resource in China to do quality control and sourcing. Do you have any tips on sourcing someone and the approximate cost? And so just a little personal journey. We were actually looking to do the same thing. And we found the person that we were ultimately going to hire through our factories. A lot of the representatives that you're working with at the factory will know someone who's a sourcing agent. And it works out really well because they'll be in the niche that you're in. Sourcing agents can't typically source everything, and it depends on the niche. You might want someone who's kind of got some contacts in that niche. What we ended up doing is working with a sourcing agent company. It was a referral from a really good friend of mine. So it was someone that I trusted. And the guy that we use has become a good friend of ours. And we recommend him to all of our EcomCrew premium members. We don't share that contact outside of premium because we try not to overwhelm him, make sure that he's going to continue to provide a good service for our premium community. But I prefer using him over an individual because this way, it's he has hundreds of people working for him now, and they can just get more done all across China because it's a big country, and they have people that deal with QC specifically, or engineering specifically, or CAD drawings, or research and development, et cetera. And they can also help you get the best pricing, and they interface with your manufacturer. I mean, it's just a really great relationship. Again, it's not just one person. So if the sourcing agent you hire gets hit by a bus, that's like an individual contractor. It can be a problem. But if you are looking for one, just start asking around your factories, Ross, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out. All right. Ramon's asking, what are the best tools for managing influencer marketing? We just use a Google Doc. Sometimes it's just easier not to, go sign up for another SaaS service and reinvent the wheel. We just have a Google Doc, a Google Sheet that we keep track of every influencer that we contact, which are a lot. Everyone that we're working with, we keep track of what phase that they're in and the process, what we've sent them, what links they posted. I mean, we have everything on Google Sheet. Igor says, I understand that importing from China became more difficult with COVID and changes in tariffs. Is this the case from your experience? If so, are there any other countries that should be considered as alternatives to China? Well, I mean, importing from China became more difficult in a micro moment of time because of COVID. I mean, when Wuhan was completely shut down, it was hard to get things out of Wuhan. And luckily for us, our biggest factory was in Wuhan. It was a fun 2020 for us. But in all seriousness, I mean, things are completely back to normal from our experience in China in terms of COVID. The tariffs, who knows where things are going to go from here. I'll try to stay away from anything political on the podcast or on EcomCrew. So this is like the third reel. So I'm just speaking objectively here and not, politically, but, the kind of common wisdom right now is that Joe Biden, becoming president, he's going to work towards eliminating the tariffs, but certainly will not increase them anymore. So they might stick around. They might be used for leverage, but they might not go down for a bit. So my hope is that they'll just be eliminated completely. Obviously, I have a dog in the fight, so it'll be a six-figure windfall for us if tariffs go away, and personally. And so there's a lot we can obviously do with that. But China's still a great place to source from. We talk about this all the time. In terms of alternatives, there are alternatives for certain types of products, especially textiles. So there's countries like Vietnam or India or Malaysia and other countries, in the Asia area that are potentially even cheaper to produce textile type products, because textile products are something that's very labor intensive, something that a human has to be kind of touching and interfacing with, and there's really no machinery necessarily. And so China, actually, the labor rates are going up, and so you can actually get things done cheaper for textiles in some of these other countries. Um, things like pottery or area rugs and stuff. Like India is like a really great spot for this. Megla, our friend, has a whole course and trip back when when COVID wasn't a thing. I'm sure it'll be back around again next year. Sourcing from India specifically. But what you'll start to run into is that a lot of these factories in these other countries are a lot smaller. They're like micro factories. And when your product becomes successful, they can't meet your demand. And so just be careful about that. Other products that require machinery, things like color products, gel pens, markers, colored pencils, etc. Well, colored pencils an exception because I had anti-dumping tax, but flashlights, things like this are a lot of stuff that Dave makes, like camping tents, rooftop tents. These are things that are going to be cheaper from China, and the best place in the world to source them from still is going to be China. Hopefully that helps you, Igor. I'm cherry picking all the short questions here since we have so many questions. I'm just answering the shorter ones. Derek says, what's the primary reason for using the Bel Air address? Is it to get products into the closest warehouse or to avoid multiple warehouses? And so what Derek's asking about, we always tell people to use the Fresh Prince of Bel Air's address as the ship from address. And so when you're shipping in, when you're setting up an Amazon shipment plan, you have to have. Dave just texted me. I think that was a joke though, right? I can't hear you. Can everybody else hear me? I assume they can. Otherwise, someone would have been like, I can't hear you, besides Dave. I can't hear Dave. Dave's lips are moving. We can hear Mike, not Dave. Okay. I'll go back to what I was talking about. What's the primary reason for the Bel Air address? Okay. Can't hear Dave either. Yeah. Okay. There we go. They figured out how to use Zoom again.
No, it's not Zoom. It was picking up my camera microphone.
I
switched it over.
So we were talking about Derek's question here, Bel Air address. Why use the address? So when you're setting up a shipment plan of things to send into Amazon and it's coming from Asia, if it's coming from Asia, it's going to land on the West Coast. Most likely going to go through the port of LA or Long Beach. That's usually the cheapest option. And so Bel Air is there, right? It's physically close to the port of LA. You can use the port of LA. I mean, the truth is that whatever address you use, it doesn't matter because you'll be using your own carrier. And so the address doesn't matter because like you're shipping this stuff in, Amazon doesn't come pick it up. You're not using a partner carrier. And that way it's going to use the Ontario 8 or some other warehouse in SoCal that's a same day delivery. It puts it all in one shipment, et cetera. And this is going to work for standard size items. If you have oversized items, it's going to be a little bit different. Another thing we've been teaching in EcomCrew Premium is this thing called Amazon Global Logistics. And so we have a contact at Amazon that actually responds to us, which is not typical for Amazon. And they'll get you in this program where Amazon basically has an Amazon partner carrier equivalent for picking up things directly from Asia. And so you tell them your factory's address in China, and they will come pick it up and get it all the way over into an Amazon warehouse. It all goes into one warehouse no matter what. And it's all built into the price, which is slightly more than the freight forwarders rate that you'll pay, but overall cheaper. The all-in price is cheaper, and Amazon doesn't bill you in advance like all freight forwarders do. They'll bill you 30 to 60, sometimes even 90 days after the fact, and they take it out of your Amazon payment. And so if cash flow is an issue for you, which it is almost for everybody on this call, you can defer your payment as well. So it's a really great deal. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, the other thing with AJL too, for oversized items, it'll lock you to one FC. So you'll never get that with oversized items otherwise. They'll be split up to 50 different FCs, but with AGL, you'll get locked to one FC for your oversized items. What do you say, Mike? Here, should we take 3 more?
Oh, I hate saying goodbye.
Me too, but it's not goodbye. It's just see you later till tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yeah, let's do 5 more, and we'll do that same trick that we've done in the past where who the first 5 people to say me in the chat, we'll go find your question and answer it. I can't pronounce. Sumaya says, I thought this was a 2-hour webinar. Did we promise this was going to be 2 hours?
It might have been booked off for 2 hours just in Zoom, just by default.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he
2
got
hours,
me in.
Not today. But either way, you're the first to answer.
You got me. We'll answer your question here. So it says, I understand the campaign structure for sponsored products, auto, broad, exact, and product targeting, but how do I manage keywords for sponsored brands too? Because some keywords for sponsored products don't work well for sponsored brands and vice versa. How are we to target? How are those tangled, if at all? So I'll let you answer, Dave.
How are those tangled? They're not really tangled. So sponsored products, your automatic and your manual campaigns are definitely tangled. So for example, you don't want to be targeting the same keywords in your automatic campaigns that you have targeted in your manual exact campaigns. So for example, if you're targeting fishing rod holders in automatic campaigns, now your automatic campaign is going to pick up that keyword just automatically. That's why it's called an automatic campaign. So let's say it is picking up fishing rod holder in your automatic campaign. You also have an exact campaign, which is targeting fishing rod holder. What you want to do is negative that out in your automatic campaign. Basically, you don't want to be targeting those two in competing automatic and manual campaigns. And when it comes down to sponsored brands, that's a whole different piece of real estate that you're targeting on Amazon. That's going to appear predominantly on the top of search pages. So yeah, until the cows go home, target the same keywords for your sponsored brands. Things are a little bit even more complex than sponsored products and sponsored brands now, along with the rollout of sponsored display. So sponsored display is another piece of new real estate that Amazon's giving away for ads. Normally they're on product detail pages near the buy box and also midway through the product detail page, but they also can appear on add to cart pages and your checkout pages. So that's sponsored display. And again, that's a whole different thing than sponsored products and sponsored brands. So it's okay to be using the same keywords there. So the takeaway here is that, yeah, you can have the same keywords in sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. Do not have them being reused though in your sponsored product campaigns, because you're going to have at least 2 or 3 different campaigns for sponsored products. You're going to have automatic, you're going to have manual exact, probably for broad, and then you're going to have manual exact for exact keywords. Hopefully you know the difference between phrase match, broad match, and exact match. But the point is you don't want to have the same keywords in your automatic campaigns and your exact campaigns. Otherwise, so it's okay. So sponsored brands and sponsored products using the same keywords, it's okay.
So I'm typing some answers to questions here for people in the Q&A. So you should be getting notifications. I'm trying to answer as many as I can.
The next one from John is, let's find your question here, John. Where is that question?
Oh, there was actually a second question from, I'm going to butcher the name again. So Sumaya, is that right? I'll answer this real quick since it's right in front of me here. I've been running an e-commerce business for a year, and the hardest and most time-consuming thing I struggle with is content creation. I'm not a creative brain, so I outsource that to VAs or freelancers. But them idolating the content usually sucks, and they can't think like Westerners in terms of content. How do you deal with that? And so this is the hardest position that we hire for, a content writer. anywhere in the world. It's hard to find people who are really good writers. The trick that we found in the Philippines is we do a lot of training. We put them through a lot of SEO and content training that we have purchased for our team. But we also, the trick that we've found more recently is to find people who are classically trained in writing. And so we find people who are journalists, or content writers by trade. They work for a local newspaper, like the English newspaper in the Philippines. They work for a brand doing marketing. Like one of the people we just hired was the brand ambassador for like one of the most affluent and nicest real estate developments in the Philippines. And so they're targeting multimillionaires and a lot of Westerners. And so they kind of just quote unquote get it. And so, yeah, I mean, and you have to push people to write really good content. We do have some information in our external traffic course that gets into how to format posts and stuff and do a good job with freelancers. But yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, it's the hardest position that we hire for, although we have had success, obviously. All the content on tactical.com, every word of it has been written by someone on our Philippines team. Did you find that other question, Dave?
Well, I think you had answered it, and I think it's a question for other people. So I'm going to read the question and your answer. Is search, find, buy still a valid approach for driving in off Amazon traffic? Are there any TOS concerns with this approach? Thank you. Yes, it still works really well. That's basically somebody searches for a keyword and then goes and buys your product, because keyword search and purchase behavior after that keyword search is arguably the #1 ranking factor on Amazon. Works very well, but if you get caught, you're probably going to get your head chopped off, not slapped, but chopped off. Amazon could potentially suspend you because that is 100% search manipulation. Amazon doesn't want you doing that. Can you get caught? Will you get caught? That's a whole different issue, but is it a suspendable offense? Absolutely.
All right, Derek had a me. I found his question. We're just entering a niche and we'll be producing multiple products in that niche. Some of the PPC keywords we will be using and want to rank for will be the same for different products. We will end up bidding against ourselves. Is there a way to avoid this? This question comes up actually quite a bit. And so we had kind of an argument last time we were talking about this, that we've chosen not to bid against ourselves on variations. And so if you have like small, medium, large, extra large on a product, we pick our most popular size and do PPC for that one only. Now it's a little bit different if you have similar products that are like, let's just say gel pens is a really good example. We had 3 different gel pen sets. We had a original, a glitter, and like a combo. And so in that situation, we would just bid on the same keywords. You theoretically cannot bid against yourself. And so in that situation, I would create campaigns that, and basically the one that is performing the best in theory should be the one that's getting the most results. Hopefully that helps, Derek. The other one here was Kelly. We got a me from Kelly. Where's Kelly's question? It just simply says, I'm doing name brand wholesale now on Amazon. I don't think that's the question. I want to share this with my wife. She has no experience with e-commerce and is not tech savvy. Will premium class teach her the foundation stuff from Facebook to email niche? I don't want to ever oversell anything and say that it's, if you're really not technical, it might be a struggle. Like we, kind of always approach our courses that there's basic computer knowledge and things of that nature. And it is relatively step-by-step. But there's probably some level of like, you need to be somewhat intuitive and things of that nature. I mean, it's all video. And so, if we're going through things like email, we do show you how to use Klaviyo, for instance, step-by-step. Because that's the program that we use. But if you ever have any questions, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that it isn't just about our pre-recorded courses. I mean, you can send an email to us and we usually get back within a couple business days. Whatever questions you have, we'll answer them through emails. We can even put screenshots and stuff in there. But we also have these Q&A webinars. And so if you're really struggling with something, just come to the Q&A webinar. Again, for our premium members, we never stop the webinar until all the questions are answered. The longest we've ever gone is 2.5 hours. It gets kind of exhausting. But we never stop. And you can also even raise your hand in the premium webinars and talk to us live, like on audio chat. So hopefully between all of those things, it should help you with whatever you're trying to do. Was there any other questions here from Kelly? Is there AREFs training and premium? No, we have not done AREFs training, but we actually, you know what? I think at least one time on one of the webinars we did. So there's not a training course, but I think that we demoed AREFs, and I can tell you that one of the secret sauces coming up in the first quarter is going to be step-by-step, like all the things that we've done for tactical.com. So there will be a training about AREFs and that, but it's not a course, but there is some basic AREFs training coming, just because it will be a part of that webinar that I'm going to do for the secret sauce. I think we were planning on originally doing it in December, and it got bumped to sometime in the first quarter, but it is coming. I think that's all the things here from Kelly.
Yeah, there's and guys, there's a couple questions here from premium members. Errol, I know you have a question in here. And somebody else had a question here, another premium member. What we're going to do, we're going to take those questions. We're actually going to screenshot and copy the questions. We'll answer them first thing for tomorrow's webinar. So if you can't make it, we'll send you a link to the replay. Just in the interest of time today, though, we're not going to be able to get to them, but we'll make them our first questions that we ask for tomorrow, though.
Sumaya, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correct. If you can, you said it didn't understand your answer on the sponsor brands and sponsor products. I'm going to just address that real quick. It's down towards the bottom of the Q&A.
1 second, so just copying the other premium questions. I'm not sure if I fully understood Dave's answer about sponsor brand versus sponsor products question. With sponsored products, you take keywords from the auto campaign, put them as negative in the auto, and then add them to the sponsored products broad campaign. So where does sponsor brand and sponsor brand video come into play? Do I take those keywords into sponsored brand and sponsored video campaigns too? So yes, you would take your top performing keywords which are in your sponsored products, and generally you would apply those to your sponsored brands, whether it's video or your banner ads that appear at the top of the page. Now, of course, you have to monitor this because some keywords may perform better for sponsored products than for sponsored brands for whatever reasons. And typically your sponsored brands are going to perform less well than sponsored products. So if you're just barely profitable on a keyword on sponsored products, it may not be profitable for sponsored brands. The second part of this, what happens if those keywords perform on one of the sponsored brand video, or sponsored product campaigns, but not the others? You just take one, it succeeded, and put them in an exact campaign and then negatively target them in all the others. How else do you discover keywords for sponsored brands or sponsored brands video? So yeah, what we do is we take our top performing keywords from sponsored products, which are typically going to be in exact campaigns, and we apply those out of the gate to our sponsored brands. Like I mentioned, sponsored brands is normally going to perform less profitable than sponsored products. So often some of those words will be eliminated from sponsored brands, just because if they are marginally profitable in sponsored products, they're probably going to be not profitable for sponsored brands. In terms of discovering keywords, so best way to discover keywords is through an automatic campaign and letting it do its magic in the background for about 4 to 6 weeks. So let that automatic campaign run, and then you'll see what keywords are being profitable and performing to your metrics that you've set and your profitability targets that you've set. The other two things we use is obviously Google Keyword Tracker, which is you have to have an ads account, a Google Ads account. You have to be spending $1,000 a month on them to get the real search data. The Google Ads Keyword tracker tool is still one of the best keyword tools out there because you're getting real data. Next one is actually brand analytics within Amazon. You need to be brand registered, but with brand analytics, that's another way you can get more or less accurate keyword data. Now, unfortunately, with brand analytics, they don't give you actual keyword volume. They give you a ranking of that keyword relative to others, but brand analytics is another great way to generate keyword ideas. So Google, keyword tracker, brand analytics, and then of course the usual suspects, Jungle Scout and Intent, although their keyword that they suggest are just estimates. There's nothing really factual about those keywords. They're not accurate keyword projections. They're simply estimates, but still they're useful. This is your first seeding sponsored products campaign or sponsored brands campaign.
I'm typing more questions or answers to the short ones here for people. So that was 4. And the last one here, number 5, we said we'll do 5, was Michael Simpson. Let me find that question. Dun, 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 dun. We actually got to almost all of these between. So there was a bunch from premium members, as Dave said. I think Dave, you just copied and pasted them, or maybe Elena did. And we'll get to those first thing tomorrow. And again, if you can't make it tomorrow, I apologize that you were here and we didn't get to this. But we will send you a link with a timestamp to make sure that you get the answer. But if you're there, we can interact with you as well. But there's several questions here from some premium members. Michael, Michael, I might have actually typed your answer because I don't see it in here anymore. Sorry, I was typing feverishly. So Rob Spears was the next one. Michael, let me know if I was able to answer your question. Hopefully I did. I'll come back to it if I didn't. Rob said,
question just for everyone listening. Do you have any issues with using a UK trademark for brand registry in the US?
Okay.
And the answer is yes, you can use a UK trademark for US brand registry. Brand registry has a list of all the countries where they'll accept the trademarks from. So UK, Canada, Mexico, India, basically anywhere where you can register as an Amazon seller, you can pretty much use the trademark for that country to get in the brand registry.
Rob's question, I think I already answered about the canonical URL. I mean, maybe someone can teach me something here, but I've been doing SEO for a long time, and I was there the day that canonical became a term for Google. And as far as I know, the only way to do that is if you own the website. And so I don't know of a way to make canonical URLs for Amazon. If you have your own website, you can do it, but not for Amazon. All right.
Yeah,
so I think that's everyone. Sorry, Dave.
You might be talking about using the title for your product and somewhat being able to create the Amazon URL off of that. So you make your title from the get-go, best fishing rod, and then you'll have a URL that's amazon.com/ a bunch of gibberish, and eventually you're going to get best fishing rod in that URL. It's not totally a canonical URL, but probably the best thing you can get with Amazon. That's the only way I really know how to dictate any URLs on Amazon is by that initial title that you choose.
Just answer Nico's question there. Oh, I think we found Michael's question. Because I think we already answered the canonical thing. All right, so we're going to end on this. This is going to be it, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Michael says, for some of the products, I do have some page control. I guess he was already answering the thing that we were just talking about. For some of the products, I do have some page control as I created the listing. I'm also working on getting brand registry and exclusive agreements for some of these brands. They are generally old school local companies with little or no e-commerce presence. So you control the pages because you created the listing. That does not mean that you own it and that you can go edit the HTML and add canonical parameters. Again, unless Amazon has added a new field to their back end or done something that I'm not aware of, this is not possible. I'm also working on getting brand registry, which is great. Definitely, everyone listening to this should definitely have brand registry. Getting exclusive agreements with brands is definitely good. Just beware that people give you an exclusive agreement doesn't mean it lasts forever, right? And we've been through this personally. Oftentimes they see our success with Amazon and think it's so easy. They realize that they're paying us money and leaving money on the table, and then they want to just go do it themselves. And so we're down to one relationship like this, and we haven't, we started with something like 10 of them when we bought Ice Wraps, and over the course of 5 years, they've all slowly one by one gone away, which really frustrates the hell out of me because we put a lot of work into them. But they're the ones in the driver's seat. So the long-term moral of the story is to make your own products where you control your own destiny. But starting out with other people's brands is a great way to get started because they've done a lot of the initial legwork. Old school companies with little to no e-commerce experience are the best ones to find because they're local and you can go in there and talk to them. But again, over time, it's best to control your own destiny. At some point, every other business owner that you work with is going to say, why am I paying Michael 25% to do this? And I can just do it on my own. And at first you can maybe convince them why it's worth it. Eventually they, get greedy and, cut you out of the picture. In every case that we, had that happen, and they've all regretted it because obviously like this is all we do all day, every day. And really get Amazon versus someone who, is focused on their manufacturing business. So hopefully that answers your question, Michael. All righty. Cool. Yeah. So everybody that's still here, if you're interested, ecomcrew.com/premium. This is the last time this year that premium will be open. It is also the last time it will ever be this cheap. We raise our price every year. Next year it will be going up again. So this is the cheapest you're ever going to be able to get it. We keep raising the price because the more people that are in there, the harder it becomes for Dave and I to provide the individual support that we do. And so we basically throttle it by just raising the price to get less people to join so we can continue to provide the same level of service. For us, it's never been about having like 10,000 people or something in this. It's about having a few hundred people and providing them all with individual personal service. So again, ecomcrew.com/premium. It's 50% off for those on the webinar. It's our Black Friday Cyber Monday deal, but officially it's closed, but unofficially, if you're on the webinar, you can still join EcomCrew Premium. We'd love to have you. Again, for all the other premium members, there was about 5 or 6 of you in here that asked questions that we did not get to today. And you guys already know that we never stop the webinar short for the premium webinars, which tomorrow is our official EcomCrew Premium Q&A. So we will start off with your questions tomorrow first thing. And again, if you aren't there, we apologize that you were able to make it to this one and not the one tomorrow, but we will send you each a link, personal link with a timestamp to your question if you can't make it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you coming. Happy holidays. It's almost the end of the year. It's crazy. It's been an interesting year to say the least. Our last webinar of the year, I think is, there's 2 more left for premium. We have the one tomorrow, and then we have a secret sauce coming up in 2 weeks, and that'll be the end of 2020 for EcomCrew stuff. Going to take a break for a couple of weeks at the end of the year here. We'll probably even take a break of doing podcasts in between Christmas and New Year's as well, because no one listens that week, and start fresh on the new year. So thank you all for your support. Thanks for coming. Until next time, happy selling. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone. Take it easy.